sharing those wins and stuff today. Greatly appreciate it. Let's jump into things. Michael Longaker, how's it going today, brother?
What's up, man? How are you? Thank you for having me on this morning.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So Michael Longacre and I go back to speaking at REO conferences. This guy has done a lot in the space. And when we connected, he was the director of HUD for Matt Martin's real estate back in the day. And we just kind of, we were big in AREO, which is the Asian Real Estate Association. And if you guys have your video on, it's kind of apparent that like we stuck out at these conferences, right? And so we were always speaking on these different boards and stuff like that. And it started as kind of like a joke, but then we would see each other every single time. We've built quite a relationship. We've done business on a lot of different levels. But I'm super excited to kind of tap into his knowledge base, where he sees the market, where it's going on his side of things, and then how he's working with more partners and bringing in more relationships as we try to use this next 4 to 8 years to really set up the rest of our lives. And so, Michael, that is a Cliff Notes version, but like dig into a little bit. Tell everybody a little bit more about like what exactly you did over there at Matt Martin, like what your real estate history and stuff looks like, my friend.
Yeah, so as you guys can tell, like Larry said, we're obviously brothers in the Asian world. We're also both bald, so we hit that off together. So yeah, in the time that we were with HUD, let's see, we moved about 85,000 properties. We had 26 states. Um, and if you deal with HUD, I'm just going to tell you now, those of you who may or may not have any experience with HUD, you just take common sense, you throw it out the window because it's government REO. So it just doesn't make any sense. But if you can get proficient at it, there's a pipeline there that will always be there. There's always going to be foreclosures. The asset management contracts are not going anywhere. In fact, I met yesterday with a couple guys from HUD who are kind of excited because with the new administration, their mindset is we don't want to hold these properties anymore. Get them out, get them out, get them out. So there's going to be opportunities. And the new asset managers took over. Larry, was it in January that they officially started? I think somewhere around.
That was when the new bid came through and they
Yeah,
expanded some areas and coverage areas. Yeah.
yeah. So you've got a team that does about half the country, and then Rain, and then there's a small one. I think it's Minimar that does Virginia or the East Coast. Anyway, thankfully, I have connections with every one of those guys because most of them worked with me in the years that we ran the HUD contract. So talking to those guys yesterday as well, they're starting to see an uptick already in inventory. So again, HUD isn't traditional real estate, but it's real estate that if you get really, really good at it, there was a guy in Virginia who became a savant at the uninsured properties, 203K. Guy was making $2 million a year because he was the only guy that knew how to do 203K. So yes, real estate on the REO side can be cumbersome sometimes because there's lots of steps that just make it annoying, but there's opportunities there. So, and when you have someone like Larry who has the connections in that world, it's endless opportunities. Honestly, it's just those that want to go take advantage of it and go grab it. And that's why, and another reason why Larry, you and I are working together is not only on the HUD side, but we also have now connections on the VA side, and then also with Cross Country Mortgage, who is a partner we'll talk about later on in the title world that I'm involved in. But we're also working with them on their REOs. So it's just even when the market and the economy is roaring, I've seen actually we had more inventory with HUD when the economy was roaring than we actually did when the economy kind of took a downturn, which you would think is the exact opposite, but that's just how it is. And the guys at HUD, they don't like to say it, but they will say it. There's a COVID inventory that's sitting out there that they're just kind of waiting to offload. And so again, there's going to be those opportunities, whether it's you're a listing agent or you're representing the buyer. There's
And
going to
let's
be.
uh, let's let's talk about that, and let's talk about the market for a moment here, right? Like, I mean, obviously our market is cyclical, right? For me, the downturn or the bottom of the last market was about 2009, right? And essentially, like, we've been going up minus this last year, right? Where we're starting to see some softenings of markets and stuff like that. Like, it's been a relatively uptrending market, for a long time now. But what are some of the things that you're looking at with where the market is, and what do you see coming down the pipeline from your point of view?
So I live in Austin, and I'm sure this was the same most everywhere, but especially in 2020 during COVID, when people just went crazy. Everybody became a real estate agent. Everybody was listing their house because they were getting. We had a buddy here who actually was representing a teacher and lost out on the property because a buyer from California came in, bid $100,000 over in cash. Well, a teacher can't compete with that. Well, those people are now kind of being forced to go back to California if they were with a tech company. So in Austin, we're starting to see some of these guys that they're going to be underwater because they came in, they bid over, like I said, just significantly over. So in Austin, we're just kind of seeing it's if you price it right, it'll move quickly. If you have an agent who still believes that they're in the COVID market and they're trying to get, two times what the house is actually worth, that property is obviously just going to sit forever. So kind of like you said, Larry, I mean, we've seen this, and I don't kind of envision that going away. I kind of think now that, as interest rates drop, you're going to see more and more opportunities, obviously, and it's just taking advantage of what's out there too.
Yeah. And what are some of the bigger opportunities that you see for agents? Or if you were an agent yourself, like, where would you be positioning yourself as this market continues to shift? Because I think what you just said about Austin is kind of common. Like, it's more so in Austin with large, like, I mean, that happened a lot, right? Like, you saw like expansive booms, like properties that were on Lake Travis selling for 900,000, now selling for 3, 4, 5 million type thing, being torn down. And so because of the tech, that brought in some big money. But that same type scenario was happening across the country, right? You had people that were overpaying, you had people that were waiving appraisals. Again, like, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes a lot. And you are starting to see these things like starting in about 2020, where there just wasn't enough inventory. People were hungry. They were buying, oh my gosh, like vacation homes, investment homes, this. And when the market's going up, everybody wins, right? Like, it's when it softens and when it corrects, like, that's when the real players and stuff come out that I've seen. Everybody does good in this market. What happens when it corrects and does this? So, what opportunities, or, with as many agents as you speak to, like, where are they focused on, or what would you be focusing on if you were in the real estate space right now?
So my conversation yesterday with my contact at HUD kind of actually gave me a different perspective. So right now they have what they call their HECM inventory. So HECM is just a reverse mortgage that is now in foreclosure. And those properties are, again, properties that HUD just does not want to hold on to anymore. Their whole mindset is we are not good at real estate. Well, who knew, right? And shocking, a government agency not good at something. So, and talking to him yesterday, there's going to be opportunities so HUD's mission statement is owner occupancy. That's their whole thing. They want to get homeowners in these properties. Well, at the same time, they're also now on the mission, or they won't say it officially, but their mission statement is let's offload all this stuff and get it off of our books. So there's two separate opportunities there that I see, whether you represent buyers or if you have an investor pool. So on the HUD side, they've changed things in the last couple of years where the owner occupant is going to get 30 days to bid on a property. But after that, it's going to go to the investor pool. And as their inventory ticks up, there's going to be opportunity there. And again, on the owner occupant, if you represent a buyer, this is where I would start positioning myself, is try and find as many normal buyers, owner occupants, first time buyers, use those guys to go get these homes, because HUD, once it gets to that open market for everybody, doesn't matter if an investor comes in and an owner occupant comes in, they're going to take the owner occupant 100% of the time.
Yep. And
So
for the first 30 days, they only accept owner occupant.
they only accept the owner occupant. So you've got the jump on all of those guys. The opportunities to be a listing agent for HUD right now probably are gone, because the asset managers really now are kind of in a groove, and if they need help with someone like Larry, you help find someone in a very small town up in Oklahoma, being born and raised in Oklahoma. I knew where it was, but not many people know where it is. You were able to find some. So there's going to be those off chance market things where there's going to be a time, hey, we don't have anybody out in the panhandle of, wherever. But again, on the REO side of the world, that's where I see the biggest opportunity, whether it's going and buying these as an investor. Again, like I said, the owner occupant side of things is really going to take off for HUD, because they're anticipating their inventory growing. They've already seen it. I think he said they've already seen it go up about 60% in the last month from when they started. So, and that's just going to continue to go as these HECMs get through the process, and the DOJ is the one that has to do the foreclosures on those. But once those really start coming in, you're going to see the HUD inventory back. Larry, in fact, when you and I met, when we were doing this at that time, there was 30,000 properties across the country, if I remember correctly, because we had 10,000. My group had 10,000. There was 3 asset managers at the time. So all of us had the same amount. I don't know if it'll ever get back to those days, but the pendulum has now swung for when HUD got rid of all the inventory and went completely away from the mission statement. But I won't go off on that subject. But now it's coming back. So there's going to be REO, obviously, is my niche. So there's always going to be opportunities there.
And the other side is like, just to like, not that I need to back or verify what Michael was saying here, but I got a call from an asset manager that I worked with at Carrington 15, 20 years ago. He's now at Consolidated Analytics, right? They run a reverse mortgage portfolio. And he's like, hey, are you still in it? I was like, absolutely. And I have a network of agents across the country if you never ever need anything. So one, I got assigned a $600,000 property yesterday. That is a reverse mortgage portfolio that they're managing. And then I'm looking at an email right now, and I'll be calling a few people after this, one in Lakeside, Montana, at this point in time, and one in Worthington, Iowa, right? So to just back up what Michael was saying, right? Like, most people have coverage in the Houstons, the Phoenixes, like the major metro areas. The opportunity is, how do you add value to them, right? And so if you can handle some of those other ones, right? Like the agent that we were able to get into the HUD contract in Oklahoma, right? It's right on the Texas-Oklahoma state line there, in a very small town that is 2 hours away from Dallas, and it's also 2 hours away from Oklahoma City at that point in time. But now that agent it's been a couple of weeks, he has 3 or 4 assets at this point in time. And now if he excels on what he's doing, he can expand that coverage area. He can capture market share. So some people are like, oh, Larry, that's too far. Like, guys, this is the time to build your relationships and capture market share, right? Unless you guys are doing an abundance of business and you're just too busy, as many agents as I talk to, that is not the overlying, scenario at this point in time, right? So it's really about building those relationships, taking what you can, and making sure that you stand out and add more value than other people in this marketplace. And I don't have the easy button or, oh, just do this or just do that, because it's different on a case-by-case scenario. And this is where we get paid to solve problems, right? The more problems that you solve for these asset managers, the more listings that you take, the more compensation that you'll get at the end of the day as well.
And I'll give you a perspective too from an asset management side on whenever I needed something, we would call Larry, right? And it wasn't Larry calling me every week. Oh, Bob got 123 Main Street. And that's really kind of closer to me. It's the guys that will just, if you call them, they're going to, yep, I don't care how far it is, I've got you. Because the asset, if you're an asset to the asset manager, I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. If you're one of those agents who calls every week to complain, guess what? I go in, I throttle down what you can receive in our back systems. And I guarantee you every asset manager does the same thing. They don't want the guys who are complainers. They want the guys that will go above and beyond. And like the guy in Oklahoma, he's already gone above and beyond. So he's got three more properties already just because he did a favor for the asset manager. It's that simple. So it's the value add, like you said, Larry. That's the key thing. It's the guys who don't just put the sign in the front yard and just expect to get a paycheck.
Yep, and this is the time, guys. Like this market will continue to adjust and there will continue to be more and more opportunities. Do you want to fight for a small piece at the end of it, or do you want to be here, the one that caught the initial wave, right? And was able to build a group or team, help more contractors do more business, help this, help that, right? Like this is where I want you guys thinking to set your guys' self up for the future. I see Teresa's asking, like, how does one kind of get connected with contracts for HUD and stuff like that? And so, what you want to kind of guide them or give them some advice on that?
Yep. So unfortunately, the contracts now are really, like I said, they're in a groove, they're rolling, but there will be opportunities like we said where you can, if it's a property that no one else would go to and you can grab it. What the thing to do on the HUD asset side is you can reach out to the asset manager and just say, hey, my name's Larry White. I service this area. I'd like to register with you guys. Understand that you may not be taking in applications, but just want to get my name in the system. That's the first step. And then really from there, it's just kind of keeping an eye on, hey, and tell them I will accept a property. If you have no one, I'm your guy. Like I will go wherever you need me to go. That is really right now with those contracts, that's kind of where it is. And then obviously using connections like Larry. So if I call and say the asset manager called and said they need help in Lone Grove, Oklahoma, who do you got? Well, about an hour later, Larry's got somebody, right? So it's also staying, in front of Larry and letting them know, hey, let me be that person. And then, the HUD contracts are done every 5 years. So in the next couple of years, they'll put out a new RFP, people will bid on it, and then the awards, and then it's just another cycle where you just have to register. But I think each REIN and A team, you can still go in and register, and you can reach out to them, and just say I've registered and I'll help you wherever you need. I don't know if they'll actually put you in the
And
systems,
then
but
and then another part is being where they are, right?
yeah,
Like they do trainings, right? Like they were at 5 Star. Like A team did a
yep,
HUD training the entire day. That is how you build connection, right? I was talking, I'll be speaking at the REOX conference coming up. I think that's November 16th and 17th in Fort Worth, Texas. PIMCO, right, which has had the HUD contract and stuff in the past, has a panel and stuff up there. I believe Graham, who's part of our group out in New Mexico, does some listings for PIMCO, maybe a speaker there, right? Michael, like you were actually on my list to reach out to and introduce you to PIMCO as well, because they're looking for speakers for their panel. And I'm already on another panel at that time. So they were like, hey, can you speak? Like, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm already on stage somewhere else at that time. And so, again, it's being at these conferences. And here's the thing, guys, with REOX, right now, there are 200 people registered. There's going to be PIMCO there. There's going to be representatives from HUD there. There's going to be other clients and stuff there. There's only 200 registered attendees. That is when you can sit down and, hey, Michael, can I grab you a drink? Let me pick your brain. Let me do this. Let me do that. Not when there's 8,000, right? 5 Star had 1,500 to 2,000 people. This is a much easier way to build rapport. So what do you look for in an agent, right? Like your top agents, what do they do differently, right? Like don't sit there with your hand out, like be inquisitive, like find out what they do. Like, you have any kids, right? Like they are humans and stuff like that. And they don't like to talk about just like assets every single day. I can promise you that as well. But you got to be in those spaces. You have to apply. And Michael can probably back this up right now. In most cases, they're probably going to say, hey, our network's full, until it's not, right? Until, Jeff gets 50 properties in a month and they're like, damn, we need somebody else in Huntington Beach area. Or Barbara gets, 25 or something like that in a couple of weeks, right? Like, so it's about positioning and being there when the time is right.
Well, and I mean, that's a great point. So 5-star, back in the day, especially in the heyday of the REO contracts, they were shoulder to shoulder. There'd be 5, 6,000 people there. You couldn't walk through the lobby without just, you're just like sardines. Now is the time to do it when the asset managers actually have time where they can actually talk to individual people. So find out, I go to their homepages, find out what they're going to be doing, look at their announcements, see, are they going to be doing trainings? Jump on those trainings. Are they going to be going to these conferences? Jump into those conferences, and that way you can get some one-on-one time. Because again, back in the day, I didn't have time to talk to everybody. It was too overwhelming, honestly, there, because there's just so many people there. When Larry and I were at 5-star, I mean, it was, you're just standing and talking to the asset manager. I mean, Larry, we stood there and talked to the rain team for about 45 minutes without interruption. So it's better to go to these things now when the REO inventory is per se down than when it's at the height and the asset manager's overwhelmed and they don't have time to talk to you.
Yeah, and the other part, Michael talked about working with traditional buyers. Guys, like if you're part of my group right now, we are only focused on buyer lead generation, right? Because what's happening? Like my wife has 15 listings that are sitting there, right? That we're just doing price reductions on. The markets are softening. Buyers will be gold as this market continues to shift. Working with, we're producing 3 to 6 registered buyer leads a day in most cases for new home builds that are offering 3% commission plus bonuses. Guess what? HUD pays a full 3% commission at this point in time, right? Like those are the opportunities. But I'm a listing agent. Well, what's your bank account say right now? It doesn't even say that you're an agent. Like take advantage of what the market is giving you and set up for what's coming next as well. And so this kind of is probably a good segue, right? Because there's not an easy button, right? Like if you're in some of those podunk areas and stuff like that don't have big populations, that's an opportunity. And I would take those if you want to break into that market for sure. Because then you're going to start to build a name, and then you're going to get referrals from other asset management companies or asset managers that are going to shift. But I want to kind of segue into, Michael and I have both done a lot in the REO and default space. And talk to us a little bit about your newest adventure. What have you been working on recently, Michael?
Unfortunately, we are not as cool as Elon Musk. We're not sending rockets to space and then having them land, on a tortilla out in the ocean. But what we're doing is, so after all my years in HUD, I realized that I can only work with our federal government so much longer, or I really will be bald. So I've gotten into the title world. I'm a partner of a title company here in Texas. We're a nationwide title company. We do things a little bit different from your traditional title companies. What we do is, and Larry will be able to speak to this, is we form joint ventures where we go to the SEC, we get shares of stock, and you become a shareholder. So now title is a vertical that you have to use when you do real estate. Obviously, you can't close property without a title company. So now Larry can legally get paid dividends on not only what he's bringing in, but then we have several partners that are part of it, Cross Country Mortgage being one of our largest shareholders, that are part of this JV. So the more that goes in to the pie, obviously, the more there is to pay out to everybody. So our CEO and founder has been doing this for 20 years, based in Cleveland, Ohio. When I got out of the HUD world, got introduced to him, told him, I wanted to get into title because, everybody thinks they can do title, and I was no different. It's been a learning experience, but the biggest expense in the title world is your business development group. Well, in this case, my business development team is Larry White and his wife, all of our other shareholders who are real estate producing agents who are now shareholders. They're your BD team because they're the ones that they have the business. So they're driving it in. Basically, they're putting money right back in their own pocket. And we've got a couple, I call them kids because now Larry, everybody's younger than we are, but these guys have taken their dividend checks and they were doing 2 or 3 properties a month. They're just putting it in lead gen. So now they've upped it to 10 to 15. We've got some guys that just use it for family vacations. But you guys know as well as I do, probably better than I do, honestly, because you guys are full-time real estate agents. You're getting squeezed every day when it comes to fees. You've got these groups out here, oh, we're not going to charge you, and it'll be a buyer premium. They're still getting paid, right? But it's taking away from if you're a traditional, if you're just a listing agent. So this is just another revenue stream where you legally can get paid for on something that you're already doing anyway. Um, I'm not an attorney. I did not stay at a Holiday Inn Express recently, so I can't speak to this. I've seen some JVs that are set up where everybody just puts money in and you're partners because everybody's putting skin in the game. Well, depending on where you live, Virginia being an example, they just fined a JV up there $3 million because they said they didn't do it properly. So the way that ours is done, and it's been explained to me by our attorney and the SEC attorney, is because we're selling dividends, we're selling shares of stock, that makes it legal. Again, you don't really want my opinion because I don't see the difference between the two, but hey, that's why we pay these guys lots of money. So, but that's the opportunity. It's where you come in, you have to be a real estate producer. We don't want passive investors because they bring nothing to the table. They just bring money. Well, that money runs out if you don't have any deal flow coming in. So besides cross country, we have several other lending partners who are feeding in deals, and then we've got 15 agent broker partners that are partners as well. So it's the Texas one is now just about a year-ish old. And Larry can tell you, dividend checks have gone out already. It's on the right trajectory. And as we work with cross country and with HUD and all these, anybody it's a JV partner with us, we make sure that if there's an opportunity to get them a listing. Guess who's getting it? It's one of our JV partners.
Yeah. And so this is here's the opportunity I saw, right? Like we talked about like capitalizing on the lending side of things last week when we had Texana Bank, right? That would help generate more business where you could also legally, which is a big part, right? Because it's not worth any of our license, legally take advantage for mortgage business that you referred. Texana Bank is also talking to this venture as well. Texana Bank has sent business to agents in our group already. Right. As Michael and I have done, like we have a lot of relationships on this. Like we've got agents into the HUD contract at this point. We have 2 luxury listings that we're referring out, in a rural area of Georgia and stuff right now, right? I'm just interviewing the agents. And then we've had a couple more and stuff on there. But this was a worthwhile venture for me to look at because of who the players were. Look, I've lost a lot of money in the title industry, right? That's actually what brought me to Houston. And, I showed up a year into that investment over 6 figures, and there were locks on the door, right? And I was like, shit, I guess I'm not getting that investment back, right? And that hurt. I did not have those sort of funds, nor would I ever want those sort of funds to just be able to lose. This was all based on production, right? The shares are $200 a share. Like this wasn't some crazy investment, but it's based on how much you produce and where you can be involved with that at. So it was a relatively small investment based on other title ventures. As Michael said, dividends are paid out every quarter. The first quarter, I was paid back more in a dividend than my initial investment. Everything after this is gravy at this point in time, right? So if I'm going to be sending out loans, man, I would love to be compensated on that. If I'm going to be sending out title and escrow, this is where we make $3, $4 this next cycle, and instead of 1 on every transaction. And now, like strategically, this is why I'm getting Texana Bank, because they also service their own loans, and we want a piece of, we want to be able to help drive the default side of that and help manage that network. Guess what Michael and I are doing for Cross Country Mortgage, who's one of the largest lenders in the country. They don't have an asset management company at this point. And we're like, oh my gosh, we got you guys. We have this, right? So this is a strategic play at this point in time for something that we're already doing. It's not a requirement or anything else, but this is where I bring opportunities to you guys that I see a vested interest, like that I see opportunities with and that I'm doing myself. And so I thought this was a no-brainer for future business opportunities, just for the amount of business that Ariana is doing here now. And I know like Texas and Florida are kind of your flagship states and stuff there because it tends to be easiest to do there. But we have agents from across the country here. Is this something that anybody can take advantage, or is it just Texas and Florida at this point, Michael?
Right now, Texas, Florida, and Ohio. Colorado is probably next on the list. Eventually, believe we'll probably be in 49 states. California makes it too difficult. I don't ever see California. Things can change, but right now it's Texas, Florida, and Ohio are where the JVs currently sit. And then, like I said, because of the years in the HUD world, taking advantage of all the people that I know in all the other states, the 26 states that we ran, Colorado will probably be next. Oklahoma, being born and raised in Oklahoma, I just want to do stuff back home. And like you were saying, when you said legal, make sure everything is set up by RESPA attorneys. So as an Oklahoman, I don't look good in orange, don't like the color. So you've got that, you've got that peace of mind, and SEC circulars sent out on everything that we do for everybody to see. But yeah, that's where the opportunities are right now.
Yeah, and so this is where, again, I thought it was a good investment right now. It was something that Ariana and I took advantage of. It was, one of the smaller investments I've ever made on the title and escrow side. But it was more so for the future relationships and stuff as well, to be able to capitalize, to be able to build relationships with Cross Country Mortgage, Texana Bank, these different plays and stuff like that. And that's where everything starts building together. And this is where, we start looking at, right? Like the theme has been, how do we use this next 4 to 8 years to set up the rest of our lives? And it's by doing things differently than we've done for the last 15 and 20 years, right? We learn these lessons, we move forward. We learn these lessons, we move forward. And so, Michael and I will continue to, capitalize on those, build better relationships, bring more partners and stuff in. Michael, if somebody wants I see Angela Filkins here. I'm all in, right? Like type thing. She's in Washington and Florida and stuff there, and has some teams and stuff like that. How do people get in touch, or do you want them to reach out to me and me make an introduction? For anybody that's interested, how do you want to speak with them, my friend?
Absolutely. Let's just have them run through you. Again, we'd rather our partners bring in additional partners. We're not opening this up to everybody on the corner. We're not Starbucks. We're not going to have a JV on every corner, right? We actually vet. So the thing that we do is you have to be qualified. So you will say, hey, I need you to send me your last year's production so we can see how many shares you qualify for. We've had agents in the past, I do 100 a year. Well, we go and look, and you've never done 100 in your life. So we really do go in and vet. So Larry, again, let's run them through you and I just run point on this, and we'll take it from there.
All right. So do me a favor. I see people posting in there. I'm typing my email for those of you that don't have it. Do me a favor, go ahead and send me an email about that, and then I will make an introduction and stuff there for Michael. Again, I think it's a big opportunity. Frida, I think this is something that Adonis should be looking at as well, with Florida and Texas being kind of his flagship offices and stuff as well. We've been so busy opening up the private money broker network. And if any of you guys are in the Houston area, we are doing our opening ceremonies, our first official event here in Houston on Monday night. I think that's the 27th at 6 o'clock. It's free, but the Private Money Broker Network is a huge organization. And again, this is where buyers, I want all of you guys to be buyers in this next cycle, right? That's where we're setting up these relationships so we can invest more in real estate as this market turns, instead of making everybody else wealthy, right? Like we become wealthy ourselves, and then we help other people kind of follow suit and stuff there. So I think this is something that would be huge for Adonis as well, especially just being here in Texas and in Florida, having such a big market holds and stuff there. So we'll make sure that we talk to Adonis a little bit more once things settle down. Any questions, comments? I mean, Michael is a wealth of knowledge and information. He can answer questions besides HUD and title and escrow and stuff at this point in time. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns for him at this point in time?
Your bribery check for saying that I'm very knowledgeable is in the mail, buddy.
Mm. Well, I have some information to share.
Please.
I've been doing property preservation for HUD,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of the issues with the inventory is with the property preservation side. They don't have enough property preservation workers. It's very hard to find someone who has the insurance, who has the background, who has the funds, who is reputable to pass the background check. And
Which
really
FSM are you? Which
pardon?
FSM are you doing? Which FSM are you doing work for?
24 asset,
Okay,
yeah, in Southern California.
gotcha. Okay,
So
yep,
that's
know 'em
what's
well.
happening out here. Um, and I see the inventory, but I'm going to be shifting and stopping my property preservation to get into the REO side. But it's there. They're constantly trying to get people to take these properties and prepare them for listing, and they're behind.
I'll tell you this is just my personal opinion. I wouldn't stop on the field service side, and here's why.
Right.
You're gonna know about that property before anybody else on the planet. So you will be able to know that eventually, that property, however many are in that network, are coming. So to me, that gives you a leg up. And if
Yes,
the asset manager doesn't have a problem with you doing the field service stuff and the listing stuff, which is how it used to be, honestly, when the first side contracts were around, might be something you think about. I would, unless
yes,
Rain, who, let's see, California, that's A team, is that right? A team
correct.
does, yeah, okay. I would check with them first to see if, hey, if I'm also doing the field service stuff, does that prohibit me from getting in your network as a listing agent? Because again, you're going to have a leg up on most people that's an opportunity that most people will never have. Just my personal opinion.
Yes, Angela had given me some tips on if I can't do it, take my property preservation, have someone else do it for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So they're
appreciate
coming.
that insight there, Mona. And yeah, if you need introduction or something like that to A Team, let me know. But they were out there at the 5-star event and stuff as well.
Yes, I spoke to Vanessa and she told me to send uh, an email to
Mm-hmm.
her, but I was waiting for my NAIDS number. And in California, they have so many regulations on trying to get your license and transfer it in MLS. So I've been stuck dealing with regulations in California. The Department of Real Estate is just
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah,
Well,
your
if you,
contracts are 70, 80 pages long at this point in time, which is
Yes,
crazy.
yes.
well, Larry, if she'll let you know when she's done all that, even though you're going to email Vanessa, Larry, if you'll let me know, I'll call Jason and see if we can't expedite that in.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So maybe I should hold off emailing
No,
Vanessa?
no, 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 no. Still go through all the normal channels. Just
Okay.
Just let me know once all of that, like once you have everything lined up and where you need it to be, just let me know that. And then again, we'll reach out to some other resources and stuff as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank
Larry,
you.
you had mentioned earlier that buyers are gold in this market. I think that something that should be mentioned about the HUD stuff that you guys were talking about is that if you have a NAD number, you can advertise any HUD property.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
that may be, something for everybody that's not already listing for HUD to look at. If you go to HUDhomestore.com and you have a NAD number, I think Washington's only got like 16 active properties right now. But that's not to say that the other states don't have more, and they're spread out everywhere, right? But if you could advertise those, bring the buyer in, I mean, I would think that that would make a name for you with the asset managers
Yes.
as you're selling off their inventory.
That would absolutely, the only thing there is, like you said, if you have your NAID number and you're good to go. If you're going to do it, we've had agents who don't have the listing. They've actually done open houses. You just need to let the current listing agent know that you're going to do that. They can't stop you from doing that, by the way. If they say, well, you can't do that, it's my listing. No, that's not how it works. You just have to give them a heads up on it. So, but yeah, that you want to stand out to an asset manager. That is one way to do it for sure.
If
And
I
I know
could
that
pipe
that's
in
how
here for Washington State, you can advertise a HUD listing, but you have to get permission in writing and also permission to use that listing agent's photos. So be very careful because you can get slapped with fines without having that permission in writing. But we as HUD listing agents have to give you that permission.
So just to be clear, right? Like, don't just do it. And then when they call you, be like, oh, well, you can't do it. Like, literally, they have to give you permission, but just do the right thing. Hey, Angela, I see your listing 123. I understand HUD, you can market all listings. Can I market and advertise that property? And if they say no, you can't do it, call myself, right? Like, we'll go to whoever has that contract and stuff there, because again, it violates the contract, right? This is why HUD brokers do trainings every single month and do this, right? Because the purpose is to educate the community on how to buy and sell HUD homes.
Yep. That's a great point, Angela. I mean, whatever the local regulations are, make sure you follow those. But at the same time, always just give the listing agent a heads up.
Yes, and
Anybody
always
else?
get it in writing so you can prove it.
Exactly. Yep.
Larry, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I think you and I spoke about this briefly, but I have a group of investors, and maybe Michael has an answer for this too. I don't know. I don't know if I'm stepping on anybody's toes on this call either. So just take it as it is. But I have a couple of iBanker colleagues of mine that want to buy these distressed assets, but they want to buy them in a huge portfolio between like 50 and $100 million worth of assets. So I don't know if anybody knows about anything like that on this call, or Michael does, or I know I spoke with Jonathan briefly, and I got to follow up with him, but he said he would be interested in talking with me more about it, the gentleman that runs the 5-star.
So let's connect. I know that you're going to the REOX conference. Let's make sure that we get you in front of Luis Amaya, who's part of our group. He's the CEO for PIMCO, because they're acquiring HECM portfolios every single month. They are accepting investments because they buy them before they come onto the public market and stuff like that, because they're also a 503c nonprofit. So they have an opportunity to buy prior to rehab and promote home ownership at that same point in time. And so I was talking to him earlier this week. He was like, hey, what happens? Like, would our agents want to invest in properties? And then if they invested, right, they got the listings back and this and this and this. And so like, he has a larger plan, but it's on the infancy stages. And again, like that would be my first contact, because a lot of people talk about tapes and having this opportunity. It's almost like a unicorn at this point. But I can tell you that PIMCO is actually bidding every single month on new portfolios. And then they're acquiring them, and then I'm helping them find coverage and stuff. Wash, rinse, repeat over and over.
Also know of another group too, Larry, the group I was talking to you about yesterday before we started the call. So there's another HECM opportunity that just hadn't even had a chance to tell Larry the full details. Gave you, brief stuff about this morning. So multiple sides to that opportunity.
And then here's the thing, like, what if you acquired those? What if those all ran through a title company that you had ownership in, because you were the one that set up the relationships, right? And like, again, it's no extra work or anything like that. It's just that we're doing business with people that are helping each other grow at the end of the day.
I've been working with these guys for several years, and we looked at several different things. So they're all over the country, and a lot of them are European. So they have access to a lot of dollars to do this type of thing. But obviously, the portfolio has to be, substantially discounted for them to bite at it, right? They're not going to invest in something that that doesn't have a huge upside, and that's just how they work. So
Well, there's gonna be an opportunity on the HUD Heckams. That was my call I had yesterday. So absolutely love to circle back with the three of us and talk a little bit more about it. We're getting some more inside information on how it is. HUD's actually kind of changed how they've done things in the past. They've actually kind of learned from their mistakes, which is almost a shock to say. So it used to be it was all or nothing. Now they're letting you pick and choose. Like there's a minimum of 5. I think it's a minimum of 5 that you have to purchase to be able to do it. But you can now go in and, okay, I want, these 15 in Florida, these 15 in Texas, these wherever. It's not, I have to take this entire tape. So
yeah, and that's what some of the guys that I work with and ladies that I work with on this in this group, they were like questioning those kind of things as well. So we'll talk about that. But Michael, I reached out to you on LinkedIn real quick. So Michael Patron, I'm here in Sarasota, Florida. So if you want to, we can chat and with Larry anytime you guys want. And I just need to know more because I need to tell them to get ready. And I just want to make sure I understand how this process works. Obviously, well, we can bring them on a call if needed. And just kind of go through the process as this develops.
unfortunately, the government shutdown's kind of going to put a little hold on the HUD Heckam, but that's not stopping us from talking to the people we know within HUD that'll once they turn the lights back on, have that opportunity.
Well, yeah, we got to know about it, and they're just going to want more information, right? They're going to want.
Yep.
They're just going to want more information before they invest $100 million. Right?
I will connect the two. So we'll take that offline from here, mostly because I have a hard stop here in a few minutes. So if you want more information, introduction and stuff to Michael, interested in doing this, shoot me an email. I will make sure that you guys are connected. Again, I put the link in there for REOX with $100 discount code because of our group at the REO Alliance and stuff like that. Like, go meet these players and start talking to these players to set up your future business and stuff here, guys. So a lot of cool stuff going on. Michael, I appreciate you as always, my brother.
Yes,
we will continue to do more, and we will continue to drive more to all of you guys as well. So call, text, email if you guys need anything at all. I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.